Labatiena, everyone! Welcome to Vilnius, Lithuania, one of my favorite cities and countries in the world, which I'm very excited about to explore together to you. Actually, it's not my first time in this country. I came here for the first time back in 2018, but it was summer actually. And as you can see, everything is covered by snow. It's winter here in Lithuania. We have currently minus 7 degrees Celsius, which is actually not that bad. I'm not even wearing gloves because here that cannot be considered as cold. The last few days we have had very low temperatures reaching up to minus 20 degrees. So you can imagine. This is a Lithuanian National Museum, which I think is right now under some kind of works, looks like. We are heading towards the city center, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which you should all visit at some point in your lives. So we have now reached the beautiful Vilnius Cathedral, which is together to this majestic bell tower. A very curious thing about the Lithuanian population when it comes to religion is that it's the only Baltic republic in which most of the population are actually Catholic. In the other two Baltic countries, which are Latvia and Estonia, most of people are actually Orthodox Christians. As I was mentioning before, Lithuania is strongly Catholic compared to the other two Baltic states. And here in the Baltics, as in any other ex-Soviet territories, religion is strongly linked to demographics. Lithuania, as well as the other two Baltic republics, was part of the Soviet Union until 1991. And of course, during the Soviet times, there was a massive wave of Russian immigration that was sent to these countries, and that's why even nowadays you have important percentages of the population which are ethnic Russians. That's why in the city, even though you have a lot of churches like the cathedral that is right behind me at the moment, you will also find so many Orthodox churches. Some of them are actually very beautiful. A very interesting fact about the Lithuanian past history is when we were mentioning before that it was part of the Soviet Union until 1991, which is, by the way, the year I was born as well, is that Lithuania was actually the first republic breaking away from Soviet Union back in 1991, sorry, as I mentioned before. So guys, now we are gonna be climbing up to the Vilnius castle, which is one of the city's main attractions, and we are gonna be doing it physically just by going upstairs. But don't worry, for the lazy ones there is also the option of going by funicular, but the thing is you will have to use a different entrance. It's actually an authentic experience. As I said, all the ex-Soviet Union republics have two different phases. One during the summer, one during the winter. But I think it's during the winter when they reveal their real soul and when they are much more beautiful, in my opinion. So guys, we are almost there. You need to be careful here, because of course everything is covered by snow, but right on the pathway the snow has melted down and it's a bit wet and therefore a bit slippery. So do be very careful if you decide to do what I'm doing. So guys, we made it up to the top of the hill, and now we'll be exploring the castle and the amazing view we have from here. It's not the highest point, but you can already get an idea about the dimensions of this city. Like any other ex-Soviet capital city, you have an area that reminds you of the past and another area that reminds you of the change in the regime and the development of the country. When it comes to the language that is spoken by people here, of course they have their own language, which is called Lithuanian, which is actually part of a language family which only contains two members in Europe, which are called the Baltic languages, which consist basically on Lithuanian and Latvian. They both come from Sanskrit, and when it comes to the Lithuanian itself, we will be talking about one of the oldest languages in Europe. There is a really high percentage of the population here in Lithuania that uses Russian as their main language, and a very important percentage of the population are also bilingual because of the Soviet past, of course. English language is commonly spread, especially among youngsters. In general, communication for foreigners here in Lithuania will never be a problem, especially in big cities like Vilnius, Kaunas or Klaipėda. Lithuania joined the European Union back in 2004 as part of the biggest annexion of countries ever taking place in the bloc so far, together to other 9 countries, which made up a total of 10, which joined that year. A few years later, they started to use the euro as their currency, which took over the Litvat, which was the name of the previous currency. And back in 2015, Lithuania was declared as a fully developed nation by the international indicators. So I was just passing by and I discovered this beautiful church. I think I've read something about it on the internet before coming here, but as it usually happens to me, I forgot about all the information. But I see that it's open because I saw people coming in. So I'm just gonna try to explore it and let's see which information I can grab from here. It is very beautiful actually from outside. I did actually manage to get some information once I came into the church, because there is like a tourist information point inside, and this is called the Church of St. Philip and St. Jacob Apostles. Very beautiful one, and is only located 10 minutes away from the city center, so if you are just passing by, it definitely worth a visit. And this is the presidential palace, which is also located in the old town. And as you can see, the old town of Vilnius is actually a very beautiful place with a very medieval vibe. Very beautiful, and especially with the snow during the winter, that gives it even a more bucolic / nostalgic atmosphere. This beautiful building here, right in front of me, belongs actually to the University of Vilnius. Concretely, this is the Faculty of Philology. It's written down there. It's actually written down in Lithuanian, but I think it does the meaning. And look at these super beautiful streets. This is incredible. Look at all these nice and cozy restaurants all over the place here on the streets. It seems that here in Vilnius it's still Christmas. Guys, as you can see in this beautiful church right in front of me, the cross is different from a Catholic one, and it's because it's an Orthodox one. And guys, now we are going to try some traditional Lithuanian food in this medieval style stunning restaurant. Well guys, what can I say? The lunch was amazing. What you saw on the previous clip is called zeppeline, which is very typical from here, from Lithuania, and it's basically a sort of a giant potato gnocchi, which is filled up with either meat or cottage cheese. I went for the meat version, but the first time I came to Lithuania, I actually tried them both. Cottage cheese is actually very, very common in the Lithuanian gastronomy, and it's very nice. They even made chocolate, which is filled up with cottage cheese. The reason why I decided not to film too much inside the restaurant was because it was completely crowded, and there was a very short distance in between guests, so I didn't want to incommodate anyone with that. But it was definitely a great lunch. The gnocchi, 2 of them actually quite big, a really big portion, plus a drink, which was also quite big. It cost me 13 euros, which is actually not bad. Even though Lithuania is not super cheap as a country. It was not cheap the first time I came, but it's okay, it's acceptable.